Welcome to the Service 101 webinar. Sorry about the little fiasco we had yesterday, but it seemed as though we had a little bit too many people show up at the party and the platform was not ready for it. So we've upgraded. I think we're going to be cool today. We're going to start in about 2 minutes. So this is the 2-minute warning. So let's get everybody in here and let's talk about service agreements. All right, once again, Service 101 webinar. We're going to jump right into this thing. Again, I'm going to try to hold this thing to a half hour. I might even get us done in 20 minutes. Now, yesterday we talked about the basics of a service department and retaining control or gaining control inside of your organization through the introduction of these service agreements and the balance between the different products that you have. But today, we're going to talk about what everybody loves to talk about, which is service agreements. You know, service agreements are an interesting thing because everybody knows they should have them, but why do so few people have success with them? I think one of the biggest reasons is because service agreements is really a different product, once again, than what we're used to, which is commercial roofing or contracting. If we hop into this thing, you know, I first really experienced the service agreement concept when I was a salesman back in the late 90s, working for a company inside of Chicago. And, you know, I used to have a pretty dedicated calling effort. You know, I'm a guy that works off of the numbers. And I would be calling clients to try to give them free inspections. Okay, so that was how I would foster work and create negotiated re-roof opportunities. That was really my focus. And I used to call these people, and I always get this same line as I'd tell them about an inspection program. They go, you know, I think we're under contract. I go, okay. Sounds good. Maybe I'll call you later. And I ran into quite a few of these that had this concept of I'm under contract, and they always seemed kind of confused as to what they were even under contract for. So after I was beat up for a couple months by that whole concept, I asked him. I asked one of the guys. I said, what do you mean you're under contract? Do you have a roof warranty? He's like, I'm not sure. How is it that you're under contract? He's like, I don't know, but that's what they tell me. We're under contract, so we really are kind of set. We're all set with the roof. And I thought to myself, what exactly is going on here? And I would convince this guy to do a little research for me and tell me what the heck this contract was that they were under. And it was a national contract from one of the bigger contractors, bigger players out there. Begins with a C and is really one of the largest roofing organizations out there. So essentially, this guy took that document or that contract, and he sent me a copy of it. And essentially, it was a very low-key commitment that essentially meant that if it rained, they could call this number and request leak service. Okay, so this was sold at a national level, and I'll use that Coca-Cola again. And this would be a national accounts guy going into Coca-Cola and telling him that they would perform leak service for him at a set rate all the way across the country or in regions, and they would give him a standardized report and report back to the corporate headquarters as to the status of all of the different leaks in a nationalized, centralized invoice system. Really not a huge commitment other than, hey, when you got a problem, give us a call and we'll come out and we'll do these things. So what this national roofing organization would do is then get a signature on that low-key document, and they would send it out. They would take a copy of that and they would send it to all their branch offices. And they'd say, Coca-Cola is now our client, right? So they would teach these local offices to call into Coca-Cola, especially when it was raining, and saying, hey, we've been contracted nationally to take care of your roof. And when you have leaks, all you have to do is to give us a call, and we'll be out there and we'll take care of this and we'll take care of this, and then report back to your corporate office. So essentially, they took that document that was signed in Atlanta for Coca-Cola, and they sent it to 30 different offices who would take that document and sell with it locally. And when there was rains, they would come out and they'd call up and they'd say, hey, I'm from the Big C, and how are you guys doing? Do you have any leaks? And they go, well, actually, we have a leak in the warehouse. They go, great. We're under contract to handle all your leak service, so we'll send a guy out. Okay, and they would forge these relationships, and they would continue to reinforce with that, regional client that they were under contract nationally. So it became the concept of taking the local, roofing branches and they're going into these local Coca-Colas and reinforcing the fact that it was under contract. And if they would question it, they would literally give them a copy of what that contract looked like. So essentially what this concept was, they were getting the accounts off the street so that when people would call, they would say, I think we're under contract. Okay, so that's how they would lock them in. The key to how I took this and made it a regional model was, once again, to take a document that wasn't a tremendous commitment and wasn't a tremendous investment, and go into these facility managers or building owners and with a very low pressure sell of maybe first visit free, a very solid value proposition. And what I was able to do in the Chicagoland area is essentially put about 1,200 of these agreements in place inside of 24 months. Now, the key to making money and understanding service agreements is we don't make a lot of money off of 100 service agreements. Or our focus is 250, is 500, is 1,000. And again, we have to have them structured so that they make sense and that they actually produce a predictable revenue stream. So the key to good service agreements programs is that, once again, you have to be able to walk in and be able to walk out with a signature. And I see people all the time really complicate the sales process by having a 10-page document with a lot of legal jargon. You want a document to where the majority of the time you can walk in and you can sell a service agreement before you even leave. And we'll show you how to do that. The other thing is you've got to price your service agreements so that they never get canceled. Okay, so the initial price for the inspection or the visit has to be low enough that as economic times come through and they make cuts with the building, it doesn't fall high up enough to where it ends up to be canceled. So we're really just trying to, once again, get the deal off the street, make sure that it doesn't get canceled, and then the most important piece is have the opportunity to get paid to sell. So when we do these quarterly maintenance agreements and we show up, it's important that you understand that what we're doing is we're taking this paid event that's taking place and putting ourselves in a position to sell product. Okay, and ultimately that's what the service agreement is all about. It is just a methodology and a device that puts you in front of your customers on a regular basis to be able to sell them what you're ultimately looking for, which is repairs and which is replacements. Okay, so I've seen a lot of people who have done it the wrong way, and that has a lot to do with the fact that we're contractors, man. We want the big roof, we want the big repairs, but you got to be focused on the long term with these service agreements. The wrong way to do this thing is by financing repairs. Okay, by fixing everything first. Okay, so I've heard a lot of people go, "I'd put you under maintenance, but first we have to get your roof up to a maintainable standard." Now remember, service agreements are about an opportunity to show up and sell a customer. If you evaluate the roof and you say there's $10,000 worth of repairs, and then you say, well, I'm going to do a quarterly agreement, so I'm just going to divide $10,000 into 4 visits, and then that's my maintenance agreement. That's not a maintenance agreement, dude. That is financing repairs. And I got news for you. If you say it's $10,000 to fix everything on your roof, and during the first year you fix everything on the roof, well then what do they need you for? The truth is, this isn't about selling big repairs. This is about identifying the deficiencies that are on the roof, taking those deficiencies and putting them on a shelf, stocking the shelves with these products that you sell, and then over time depleting that inventory and adding new inventory as new things go wrong with the roof. It's a long-term commitment. We don't want to fix everything. We want to fix enough to keep them going and enough to make a reasonable amount of revenue so that the agreement makes sense for everyone. The other big mistake I see people make is leak guarantees. Leaks are how you make money in service agreements. You can't give those away. What you're giving them is this reoccurring agreement that we're going to show up quarterly, and because of that, you're going to get a discount on leaks and you're going to get a discount on repairs. But understand, leaks and repairs are where you make your money. You want an agreement that they can cancel at any time, and really what that means is there's never an end date to it. Okay. Cancel at any time. Pretty much, anybody ever says that to you? Sounds great, but the truth is it means you're locked in for life. Okay, it's a never-ending agreement, okay, until you actually cancel it. So it's important that you provide value and that you're not pulling too much money from them on a quarterly basis so that when economic times come in, that doesn't get canceled, just to reaffirm that. So, does it work? I don't know. Over the years, I've helped tens of companies put these service agreement programs in place based upon proven statistics of the solid financial stability that a service agreement program creates inside of a contracting company. So I told you in the late 90s, I put together the service agreement program for a Chicago company, sold 1,200 agreements in 24 months. So What are the results of that? Well, I can tell you that you can be able to receive up to 75% retention on the long term with service agreements. And when I say long term, you take the 1,200 agreements that I helped sell in the late 90s, and 18 to 20 years later, there are still 1,000 of those agreements in place. There is no reason to cancel the agreements. They're affordable. They're less than the direct TV bill for the building. So up to 75% retention over the long term in the 5 years and the 10 years. Even when they sell the building, typically they're going to go ahead and retain these programs if you have them priced right. What do you get for them? You get about $4,000 to $5,000 per service agreement. Now you might say, geez, that doesn't sound like a lot of money. I could sell a $100,000 rear for different, It's not what it's about, guys. This is a volume game. It's a volume game, and you're working off of that $4,000 to $5,000 per service agreement, and that's what drives this model and makes it work. 1 in 20 of your service agreements will be re-roofed every year. If you have 100 service agreements, 5 of them will be replaced in any given year. And these replacements are based upon the amount of time that you've been with them, are the easiest replacements and most profitable replacements with the most favorable returns of any re-roofs that you'll do. These are your customers, and you have a long-term relationship with them. They have a reason to keep you in the game. You probably wrote the spec. You helped them find the contractors who would bid it, and that's what this game is all about. So let's go ahead and let's take a look at these numbers. Let's say out of the 20 people in your company, you make a simple commitment that every week you're going to sell 5 service agreements, right? I'm kind of giving that, right? So we got 5 service agreements. That means you're going to add 21 service agreements a month, and during 1 calendar year, you are going to add 258 service agreements, right? 5 a week, just is 1 a day. Come on, you got 20 people in your company. Can you get 1 of these suckers signed a day? I'm going to show you how to do that. So what does this represent over a 12-month basis? Well, 258 service agreements will give you roughly $1 million in service agreement revenue. That's based upon $4,000 per service agreement. I said it's $4,000 to $5,000, but it takes a while for the accounts to mature before you can get that average of $5,000 apiece. How many re-roofs are going to run into based upon these 258? 12.9 re-roofs. Multiply that times, 100,000. And these 258 service agreements that you put in place for the first year are worth $2.3 million. Who sells it? The system sells it. There is money that's produced from doing the inspections. That's roughly $1,000 a year. And then, the upsells are $3,000 to $4,000 for a total of $4,000 to $5,000. So what does this mean over a 5-year basis? Well, it means roughly $5 million in service agreement revenue, 64 re-roofs, and $11 million in combined revenue. Oh my gosh, that's a business. That's a business within a business. Now, that's based upon 12 months of performance that you would put that model in place. Let's talk about year 2. Here's the beautiful thing about service agreements. In the second year, you got a 258 agreement head start. So let's say we make the same commitment that we're going to sell 5 service agreements a week, 1 a day for all 20 of the people in your company, and you probably have about 30 people in your company now because of this service agreement revenue. You'll have a total of 516 agreements after 48 months. What's the revenue that comes from that? The revenue that comes from that, based upon $4,000, is $2 million in revenue. Predictable, reoccurring, stuff just happens. Sales are the same in February as they are in June and July. Very consistent. How many re-roofs? 25 re-roofs a year. 25 negotiated sweet re-roofs handed to you on a plate each year. Total revenue, $4.6 million. You take that book of business, those 516 agreements, over 5 years will produce $10 million worth of service agreement revenue, 129 roof replacements with a total overall revenue of $23 million. Am I getting your attention? Still want to do new construction? This is a business within itself, a low-risk, predictable business with recurring revenue. Should we push it out another year? I think we should. All right, so we're coming into year 3. We got 516 agreements. That's a lot of agreements. So based upon that, we probably have a little bit bigger sales force, and maybe, just maybe, we can make a little bit more of a solid commitment to selling more agreements. So maybe we're going to sell 10 a week. Come on, it's 2 a day. You could have a service agreement salesman by now. But let's say we're going to sell 10 of these puppies a week. Year 3, end of year 3, you got 1,000 agreements. What does 1,000 agreements look like? Well, 1,000 agreements is going to give you about $4 million worth of revenue. The truth is, you've got accounts that are maturing now. It's going to be somewhere between $4 and $5 million worth of predictable revenue in a reoccurring revenue, reoccurring growth model. You're going to get about 51 re-roofs a year. It's probably as many as you do right now. Total revenue of $9.2 million. Project that out. Never sell another service agreement. And over the next 5 years, you'll do $20 million with those 1,000 agreements. In service agreement revenue, you'll do 250 roofs and about $46 million in total revenue. 3 years. Like it? You should like it, because this is a viable, proven model. If you just dedicate yourself towards that model and understand that this isn't something that you can do combined with your contracting business. You have to treat this like it's its own business. It's got different employees. They've got different ways of doing business. They've got different personalities. And what I do is I put these service agreement businesses in place. That's what I do for a living. So that is the math. And as you can see, this is a turnkey business model with high levels of retention, the $4,000 to $5,000 per service agreement model, and 1 in 20 of those things re-roof. So how do you make this happen? Well, it's easy. You hire me. Okay? What I can do for you inside of this is through our program called the Rooftop Maintenance Service Agreements One-on-One Training, is essentially a turnkey business model from start to finish. It starts with the complete business plan, including financial modeling based upon how quickly you want to grow. If you want to get to 1,000 agreements in 3 years, there's a cost and there's a burn rate to that, and we need to understand what that is and scale the way that you grow based upon how quickly you want to get there. We're going to have an organizational structure within that complete business plan that includes who are the individuals that you have to have in place to be able to make this happen. How do you pay them? How do you incentivize them to drive you towards your goals? We're going to talk about the systems that are required to track this kind of effort, the way that we track it, the way that we account for it, the way we track the performance, the way that we invoice. The business plan is going to include marketing and sales. How do we brand our company to be able to get in front of customers who are going to be attracted to this type of model? How do we walk in and make those sales? What are the sales tools that are required and the sales strategies and the sales pitch that we have to walk in to be able to get that successful one-call close to be able to get to those 250 agreements or 500 agreements or 1,000 agreements. Next, the consulting and training. Putting everything in place. Guys, I've done this 25 times, and I understand what it takes to take your organization and to build this turnkey business model inside of it. Okay? The consulting, the training, how to sell the service agreements, literally, I'm going to sit down with your salespeople and I'm going to show them how to do this pitch and how to walk out with a signed service agreement over 50% of the time that they present it. How to produce service agreements. How do you organize all of this stuff so that it gets produced in a regular basis and in accordance with the agreements that you put out there? But most important, how do you make money with it? Okay? How can you make money with a $250 quarterly service agreement? Well, I'm going to show you how to do that. And finally, the branding and the marketing. What is it that you're selling? What is it that makes these programs attractive to your clients? And we're going to build the logos that support that, the forms that are required to be able to safely sign up these service agreements and make sure that they stay in a reoccurring environment. And even the videos, the optional videos that we can put together to create really proactive marketing campaigns to where we're emailing it out and emailing what our brand, what our proposition is, value proposition is, and being able to sign up these service agreements to meet that 1 a day, 5 a week goal that you put out there, or whatever goal that you intend to put out there. This complete model, including the complete business plan, the consultation and training, the branding and marketing, is a one-time investment of $7,500. And I stick with you guys until you start to get some traction, which means when you start to sell some service agreements, I'm available to you guys all the way throughout that process. And I guarantee that during your first 12 months, you are going to have a service agreement that's put in place. You got to follow the steps that I'm putting out there, but as long as you stay dedicated towards it, I'm going to guarantee that you guys are going to gain some traction inside of this thing and can honestly say that you have a service agreement business inside of those 12 months. So, maybe a little bit of motivation to get you started. We have a webinar special right now that includes the Market Pro marketing package, which is a free video built around your business with your logos, a free landing page inside of ClickFunnels that is going to be emailed out to different prospects that you guys have within your system that allows them to just click one button and get a free inspection or literally sign up for a service agreement program. This is a $7,000 value that is provided for anyone who signs up during this webinar to our turnkey business model, rooftop maintenance, service agreements, one-on-one training. And you'll have the ability to actually take advantage of this by clicking the button down below. It's that big orange button down there to be able to set yourself up and get going with the service agreement program. Again, the complete business plan, the consulting and training, branding and marketing, including the Market Pro package, a $7,000 value for $7,500 during this webinar. So we'll extend that basically through today. If you guys are interested in that, take advantage of it. Click on the orange button below and it'll get you started in signing up. If you have any questions, of course, reach out to me. Join us tomorrow when we dive into that data sell, right? The complex corporate account sales, giving the corporate buyers exactly what they want, understanding what that is, and then making it easier for them to buy. So that's tomorrow, same time, same place. See ya.